Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to yet another great interview in our summit, virtual business summit. Today, we're talking to Don Manigly from Boathouse Pictures, and we're going to be talking about video marketing. What is it? How do we use it? Why is it important, especially in in the digital age that we have now? So, without further ado, Don, tell us who you are, what you do, and a little brief intro into video marketing.
Well, thank you for having me, Bill. And my name is Don Manigly. I am currently the VP of Outreach for Boathouse Pictures. We are a Philadelphia-based full-service video production company. We primarily do narrative and documentary filmmaking, but we have also dabbled in live and virtual events, various marketing and branding videos over the years, and also some commercial work as well. And in my role, I've basically functioned as sort of a combination of a casting director, a producer, and an assistant director on various projects. And we have been around since 2013.
Cool. And so tell us a little bit about video marketing when it comes to the business side of stuff. Um, you know, what is it by definition, and what are some things that people do with it? Just as examples, if you will.
Well, video marketing is what I would say is one of the key driving factors to making sure that your business is getting its face out there and making itself known to potential clients or collaborators. The simplest way to put it is it could be anything from a training video that you put up on a site like YouTube. It could be anything from just a quick intro on a site like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. It's really, the sky is the limit as far as what video marketing is, but it's just utilizing video in different creative ways to basically advertise your business online and to help you network and grow your number of clients.
Absolutely. And it's definitely become a very powerful thing for businesses to get into, and a way to express themselves. And it's one of the biggest content that you can put out there that's being consumed by people when it comes to those different platforms, and where the algorithms are looking for people now as well. They're not just looking for keywords, they're also looking for relevance, and they're looking for what that content actually is. So I think that the first thing I want to do with video marketing, as a topic, if you will, is talk about there's like a bunch of different things that ran through my head, but I think the first thing is more of breaking down, like, okay, someone's thinking of getting into video marketing. What's the first thing that they should think about when doing this?
Well, the first thing they need to think about is, what's my audience and what type of businesses do I want to attract? And what kind of services am I going to offer them? Am I going to offer them basically the full package, meaning script to screen? Am I just going to offer them video editing? Am I just going to offer them um, you know branding opportunities, like just new ways to get your company's presence up on social media, or to beef up your website in certain ways? What Just figure out, like, what types of businesses do I want to reach out to, and what can I offer them that no one else can? Or maybe not even so much that no one else can, but just what can we offer that makes us better than our competitors?
Absolutely. And the same thing applies for people who are just thinking about doing video marketing in general for any business. Who are you trying to hit? Who are you trying to get to? Because that's going to start making you understand what kind of videos you would want to release. And a good way to think about that is to put yourself in the shoe of who you're trying to reach, and then asking, like, what kind of content would I want to see? So for an example, if your business is to reach out to people that need coaching, for example, a lot of them aren't necessarily looking for coaching, but looking for ways to fix issues that they might have, or find mindset or motivation or things that are going to help them fix those issues themselves. So by supplying videos that touch on those different topics, they're getting that content, and then they might also start realizing that they can't do it themselves. So that's an example of what we're talking about here with, building that audience. So now that we've figured out who we're trying to hit and what we're trying to do, let's break down a little bit about, how you can reach them through video.
For sure. Well, I mean, like I said, for starters, you want to really sit down with your client, whoever it is, and get some history. How did their business get its start? Where are they now? Who are their biggest customers? Is there a certain market that they seem to always get their business from? And do they want to continue to expand within that market, or are they looking to enter a brand new market? I mean, let's say you're working with a real estate business as an example, and they've mostly been selling to families, people with a husband and a wife with multiple kids and maybe a couple of pets or something, and they want to buy a 2-story, 3-bedroom household or something like that, and that's kind of what your real estate business has been selling to. But you realize when you look at the state of the real estate market that a lot of people who are buying right now are maybe like young professionals. Maybe it's a couple, or maybe it's just single people who want to own their first home. So what can you do to better appeal to them?
Absolutely. And I definitely want to take it from, two different standpoints of, if you're a video creator, what would you want to, what options are there for creating the content, but also from businesses, if they were getting into video marketing or trying to do something themselves, what would they be doing? So, for example, if you're the real estate agent, not necessarily the video creator on that side, you ask yourself the same questions. What am I trying to hit, and then how am I going to get them? And that starts to imply how you can use that video. So posting on social media is one method, but you can also do email marketing. You can also do presentations. You can have the video be a signature in your email. So I want to kind of dive into a few more of those ideas as well. Like, how can we use this video that we create? So, what are some other methods that you've seen besides the ones that I just mentioned?
Well, those were all great examples, for instance. But lots of times, if I'm working with a client who, for instance, maybe has, like, let's just say, a bare bones website, that you go on the website, you find out here's some information about the company. Here's how to contact us. Maybe there's even a pre-populated form that a potential customer could fill out to have you then reach out to them to provide an estimate. And that's basically all they have. Maybe they have no presence at all on social media. They never thought, hey, let's create a Facebook page or put some information out on Twitter or Instagram or one of the other platforms. But suddenly they realize I'm in a market where a lot of other companies are utilizing these platforms. So I guess my first question for them would be, have you ever thought about expanding into different platforms? Have you ever wanted to do more, like you said, direct email marketing for people who sign up on your website? There are ways that people can sign up on your website and they can opt in, and every so often they'll get a newsletter from your company, or they'll get information on some specials that you're running this month. There are so many different options today, and if you are a business, you cannot limit yourself. I get that certain methods are maybe not for you, at least initially, but you have to stay open to it, because video marketing really is the present, and it is the future.
Absolutely. And I think when you come from the concept of, I have a video and what can I do with it, and then realizing that that same video can be reused multiple times. Some people are like, oh, I'll just cut it and it'll be on Facebook and that's it. But you can post that same one on LinkedIn, you can post that same one on Instagram, because not too often do you have the same followers on each platform. A lot of the times it's varied. And then also using that same video in email marketing, putting that same video on your website, putting that same video in your email tag. So there's so many ways that you can utilize that video. Even if you have a client who asks you a question and you have a video on that, you can send the video and say, hey, here's a video explaining exactly that. Check it out. And it becomes a value add. So if you're marketing on LinkedIn, you can even send it to someone and saying, "Hey, look at this video that I just did," and it's a way to start supplying value to people when you do direct cold contact. And now it's a little warmer, and now those people are more likely to get back to you. So, to your point, Don, like there's so much that you can do with it, and it is the future. So, making content to that degree, that scale of consumptionability, if that's even a word, it's important. So the next thing I kind of want to touch on is starting to break down how we put together these videos. And I understand that there's hiring a professional like you guys, but there's also ways that we can do it ourselves if we're just a small business. So I want to talk about both, um, and kind of delve into just the scale of what needs to be done, and then maybe the ways that we could kind of start with it, even if we can't afford hiring someone yet.
So, I mean, the great thing about technology is there's so many things that you can do with it now. I mean, we've seen the advances just in cell phone technology alone in the last few years. And sometimes, and I'll go back to my example from earlier, like if I'm a real estate business and I want to show people properties, well, it's great to post photos online. Don't misunderstand me, but nowadays people like this whole new approach of virtual walkthroughs. And people don't understand sometimes that shooting a virtual walkthrough is really just as simple as taking out a phone that has a good quality camera and just walking people through the property. And whether you want to kind of talk over it while you're walking through the property, or whether you want to record your own voiceover afterwards and add it to your video, it's something that you can do yourself, and it's not doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. Now, that being said, if you really want your video to stand out and you want it to pop per se, and you're willing to put the money out, you have the budget, then it's beneficial to hire a professional crew who can really make your building, whether it's an office building or a home, just really stand out and attract a lot of business.
Absolutely. And I think that, much like a couple other videos that we've done so far in the summit, one of the key things that pops up is that we're growing our business. So there is going to be a start, and that'll be when you're walking through, in your example, through the house with your phone and talking over. But then once you get to a certain point, you don't have the time to go record that, for one. Two, you're going to want to add that next level of professionalism where someone who knows how to hold the camera correctly and make sure that there's no weird objects in the background, make sure that there's no shadows here and there, make sure everyone can see it. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it to make it a pleasant video. And that's where the professionals start coming in, from one, the standpoint of freeing up our time so we can leverage, and two, also bringing in that professionalism and the being able to watch out for those things and making your business take that next step very clearly in your marketing, but also in what you're doing. And that's really what we're talking about with that step process. It's not a matter of how can I save money. It's just a matter of where am I at in my business and how can we grow it, and then how do we, what are we adding with those different pieces. So, um, for another example, let's say you're doing video marketing on social media. That is more forgiving than videos that are on your website. So, if you're reaching out to people on social media through video, a lot of them are looking for quick videos, quick style stuff. So it can be a lower quality. Whereas if you're on your website, that's where you're supposed to be closing. So that's where you bring in the professional like you. So let's touch more on that, with where video can go, and what we can do on each thing. So for example, the social media being on your phone, but then the website being done by the professionals. Like, I want more of those examples. What do you got?
Well, I mean, a good example. It's funny you mentioned that because obviously, yes, on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, so many platforms now. Yes, the audience can be a little bit more forgiving, and you also have to remember they have, in many ways, a shorter attention span. So you really have to hook them within like a minute or two at most with your video. But this is where, like you said, where it can come in and be beneficial to you to hire a professional crew to do this type of work, because you can shoot a longer form video that, let's say, is maybe 5 to 10 minutes in length that can go up on your website. And you look at it and you say, this is very professional and super polished. It takes us from the beginning to the end, tells us everything we need to know about this business. Whereas if I go onto one of the other platforms and I just want to see a quick 1 to 2 minute video that just gives me a few bullet points, if you will, about this business, that might in turn lead me to go to their website and read more about them. So it's kind of a twofold sort of strategy. It's like, okay, we can hook the initial viewer on social media, but the key is going to be, like you said, in order to close that sale, we've got to drive them to our website so they can really see what our business is about and want to reach out to us about possibly working together.
Absolutely. And I think that some of the other more obvious, but not necessarily thought of positive things that come from video is that when you're doing your video, your personality is coming across. So now someone's starting to pick up on that even without meeting you. And that's another great benefit because when you have text, it can be misinterpreted. When you have even pictures, they can be misinterpreted. But when you have video, they can see so much more and consume so much more. So now they're really picking up on those extra pieces, and it's going that extra mile and putting that extra piece together in that frame of what you're talking about from social media to your website. So it also adds emotion. It adds the ability to come up with a script that you follow so that you're typing it out. And a lot of times people will flub on conversations when we're networking or might not say the exact same way we want to. But with a video on social media and the different things to bring people in, you get to pre-script it and put it together, which really helps. And when you're stepping up and doing that, hiring the professional at that point, they're going to help you come up with that script as well. So, with the scope of video marketing, there's so much that you can do. And I think what I want to kind of get into now is take people through an example that applies these different things. So let's I guess go with let's go with the real estate person, and let's kind of go from beginning to end, and end being just simply a sale coming through. Let's say everything went perfectly and the sale came through, but let's take it from beginning to end, from like content creation to where to post it to how to close it. So what's the first thing that they should do when trying to come up with some sort of video marketing?
Well, the first thing you need to evaluate is, how are you currently bringing in most of your business? Is it primarily through word of mouth? Is it because people just happen to know about your website and have gone there and have maybe filled out a form to get in touch with you? Or is it through some other method? Did you maybe try doing direct mailing? Because there are a lot of companies that do send mail the old fashioned way to people. Some people try, like I said, to just do the old fashioned cold calling, which is not something I really recommend these days. It's different when a person is maybe expecting your call already, but when you try to just call them out of the blue and sell them what your business is offering, 9 times out of 10 it will not work out, unfortunately. So
Hmm.
if you're, in this case, a real estate business that wants to expand your market and bring in more clients, and you're thinking we need to utilize video marketing if we're going to stay ahead of the curve, then your first step is try to see what companies are in the area that specialize in video marketing. And you can sometimes do that just with a quick Google search, production companies that specialize in video marketing. Um, and you start to do your research, you check out the different companies' websites. If they have their own YouTube channels, if they have their own LinkedIn, if they have their own other social media channels, you check those out. And then your next step is reaching out to the production company and having that initial consultation. Most production companies, at least any honest one, will give you initial free consultation, because we want to find out, what are you looking to accomplish with your business? Are there multiple steps in your process? Like, are you just looking to increase your presence everywhere because you just really want to bring every demographic in, or do you have a certain market you're trying to hit? Then I guess our next question is going to be, are you comfortable speaking on camera? Because as you said, when people are on camera and they're talking about their business in a video, it says a lot more than just reading a bunch of text on a screen or looking at a bunch of just still images of properties, or pictures of people who work for the company. A video tells you much more about them as people and what they can offer you. Sometimes people will say point blank, you know what, I really want us to utilize video marketing, but most of our real estate agents here, we're not really comfortable speaking on camera. So in that case, we would offer to them as a production company, in this case, Boathouse Pictures, well, how would you feel about us looking to getting actors involved who could talk from a pre-created script to basically advertise your business and talk about what you offer to people who are in the market for homes or for office buildings and other sorts of property. So then you go through the process of finding the talent, and you want to make the business that you're working with feel included in that process. You can make a few recommendations of your own and say, I think these people fit what you're looking for the best. They'll get back to you. You'll figure out what talent you're going to use, contact the talent, finalize everything as far as the paperwork goes, and then basically come into either the real estate office, or if you have access to some sort of studio space, sometimes it's a good idea to film someone just against a plain background or a green screen, which that gets a little bit more technical, but just to kind of summarize it, you have options. You can film on location at the business if they have, if they have a location, whether it's their office building or one of their properties, or you can film, like I said, on a studio set. And from there are just tons of different options. And as a production company, you want to be receptive to feedback from the business. You don't want to kind of tell them what to do. You just want to sort of make suggestions on where they can tweak their approach.
Absolutely. All right, and then let's take it from that would be the adding in the productions part, which would be someone with some sort of a budget. And let's touch on real quick, if they don't have a budget and they're doing the stuff themselves, the process is still much the same. You're still going to come up with your idea of what you need to do and who you want to touch on, all the different pieces that you had there. Obviously, you're not going to be looking for a production company. You're going to shoot it yourself. But much like we talked about before, with using your phone to walk through and do virtual walkthroughs, um, you can start there with how to shoot your stuff. Most people can get their hands on a phone tripod with the little donut light, for lack of a better word. I have one here that I use. Um, with that, you can set yourself up in front of a background, just like you mentioned, and then start putting content together. Now, you're not hiring a production company, so obviously you're going to be coming up with the content yourselves. So don't go crazy with what you're trying to do. Just stand in front of the camera and say different kinds of commercials, information, different topics. So for this example, since we're in the real estate world, maybe you work with buyers, talk about the troubles buyers run into. Talk about past buyers that have worked with you, what's going on in the market, different kinds of information, and then you post it on social media. And then as you build the following and get bigger, then you start getting into exactly what Don was talking about with looking up the production company and starting that whole process there to, again, grow your business, because now you have too many buyers that you can't have the time to set up aside, an hour or two a day to potentially put stuff together. Um, so I think that the next thing I want to kind of get into is that part. So, we've been talking about businesses doing it themselves and then hiring a production company. And I want to kind of get into like time, like that is invested. And I want to start with the businesses themselves invested, so they're doing it themselves. What, you know, we have a long list of things that we've had, which is you have to come up with who you're going to hit. You have to create the dialogue, you have to shoot the content, you have to edit it, you have to put it on social media. What are some time frames that people need to understand that it's going to take this much time to put that stuff together?
And that's going to vary project to project, because at the end of the day, it depends on the scope of work that you're completing for the business that you're working with. As a production company, we always like to give our clients realistic timelines, um, and also keeping in mind that we want to give them the freedom to decide how much of this do we want you guys to tweak once we've seen an initial edit of it. It's not just as simple as you shoot everything, you edit it, and then it's ready to go. Now, of course, some clients will be, less particular, and will want to just get the content out as quickly as possible than others will want to. We've worked with clients in the past who have wanted 4 or 5 different edits of the videos that we've produced. That's not uncommon, because they have a very specific market they're trying to reach, and if they feel that there's anything off about the content, they're going to want to continue to make edits. And there are instances where you do have to kind of reel them in and say, and let them know maybe you're overthinking it a little bit, that it's not so much about making the perfect video so much as that it's just making the right video that's going to get all of your major points across in its messaging.
Absolutely. And that's from the standpoint of the production company timeline wise. But I also want to talk about, businesses doing it themselves. So for example, they want to produce their own videos through their phone and edit it and such. You're going to be spending at least 3 or 4 hours putting, I would say, a decent amount of content together. When you have the right format and you've been doing it longer, you're going to be quicker at it. But you're going to be about an hour or 2 hours putting together a couple 30-second scripts and practicing them. Then you're going to be another hour or two shooting it because you're going to mess up. You're going to have to restart. And then you're going to be editing it. That's one of the longest processes of them all. Now, there's ways to be quicker at it, where you shoot it in one shot, and then that way you're just cutting off the ends. But or if you're trying to go live, obviously it's a little quicker because you might not have to edit, but you're still going to be another 2 or 3 hours there. So, all in all, you're talking 2, 4, 6, like 7 hours to put that content together. But if you're doing 5 or 6 videos at once, which potentially could fall into that time frame, and you're releasing once, maybe twice a week, now you're talking that 7 hours is over a month. So there's ways to spread it out, but you can also see why we're talking to Don about also hiring a production company, because that's 7 hours. Now you have to pick up content. So that 7 hours goes from a month. Now it's 7 hours a week, and you're losing time. And at that point, if you're posting that much content, you should be getting the results where now you have the budget to bring on someone like Don to shoot those videos for you, and they're taking care of that side while you're focusing on more business, which is what we do as we grow as businesses in general. So I think we covered a lot. We talked about what video marketing is, what you can do with it, posting on emails, social media, that kind of stuff, how we can create it from both the production side of a company and then also from businesses by themselves, why this is something that you're going to create, build, and then start getting ready to hand off to someone else and continue with, and the power of what it can do through the SEO and things that we've been talking about. So before we get into some actionable steps on both sides of what we've been talking about, where say you're starting a production company, what are the first things you want to do, and then say you're looking to start this yourself, what are the first things you want to do? Is there anything else you think we should talk about when it comes to video marketing?
Well, I think to piggyback off of your last point, especially when you're filming the content yourself, you need to give yourself a little extra time than you think you might need. So if let's just say, you're filming 3 or 4 30-second videos, and it's just one person who's going to be talking in every single video, you would think to yourself, oh, what could this take? Maybe 2, 3 hours at most. I would say give yourself twice that amount of time just to play it safe. Because as you pointed out, Bill, especially if you're reading from a script, um, you're going to mess up from time to time because you're going to want to get all of your nuances and your cadences and your pauses correct. You're going to be trying to make this video look perfect. And again, hypothetically, you could shoot them all in just one long continuous take, but sometimes people respond better to when you insert a couple of quick cuts in there, or you just change up your camera angle briefly, or the lighting, or whatever the case is. So I just would recommend that regardless of whether you are using a professional crew or filming it yourself, always give yourself extra time for filming and for editing.
Absolutely. And it is a process, but it is worth the investment with your time in the beginning because obviously that's where you're trying to save your money. And then as you move forward, the money that you put into it, you're going to get those dollars back as long as you're using it in the methods that we talked about with hitting your market directly, leveraging these videos 17 different ways so that, say you create one video with a professional company and it costs a couple $1,000s, but now you're using it 15, 20 different ways in all your marketing. You're continuing to use it because it doesn't expire. It's working for you at night. It's working for you during the day. It's closing people while you're doing other lead generation. So, it you can start to see where this power starts coming from. So to wrap things up, let's start first with people who are doing it themselves. What are some actionable steps for people who are doing it themselves? What can they do? Like one or two things that would get them started on this process for themselves.
I mean, number one is who is your figuring out who your target audience is. You've got to know who your target audience or demographic is beforehand, and then number two, what is the primary method you want to use to hook them? Is it your website? Is it email marketing? Is it digital ads and paid media? Is it social media? What is your because the problem that a lot of people make in the beginning is they want to do everything, and there's plenty of time for you to dip your toes into other avenues, but you need to focus on developing one or two from the very beginning and reaching that audience first before you can focus on expanding.
Absolutely. And then let's take it from the other side where you're starting a production company, which is the other thing we've been talking about. What are the first, one or two things that they should be doing?
To attract businesses.
Well, to get into video marketing, I guess, because we're talking more about someone who's looking to create it for other companies. So, when you guys got started with Boathouse, what did you do? You know, to
the
get
the
into it.
number one thing you can do is do some research, excuse me, on the internet about networking events, because networking events are your bread and butter in the beginning. This is the way that you introduce people to who you are. They get to see you live and in person or virtually, because there are a lot of business virtual events, as you know, Bill.
Hmm.
Um, and it's an opportunity for you to give out your business card. If you have any pamphlets or brochures for your company, you can give those out at networking events. And just attending as many of those as you can to get your face out there is very important. That is definitely step number one. And then another big thing is to just visit as many different social platforms as you can and figure out which one would be a good stepping stone for your company. Which one are you going to utilize to drive people to your company website? And you absolutely need to have a company website. It's great to offer services. It's great to have a crew. It's great to have a talented team of professionals who are just ready to break into the market. But you have to have a website as a starting point.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, that I think that we've really covered a lot of different pieces, and I think that we have highlighted some good first steps for people to take. So, thank you everybody for watching this video about video marketing and what it takes to get into it and to do it. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the networking event tonight at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time.